Hey everybody, I'm Jesse and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about the Latchkey legacy and how independence shaped Generation X. Now, for those of you who don't know the term latchkey kids, we grew up as kids that a lot of us had the house key tied around our necks on cords or shoestrings or something, because when we got home from school, nobody was there. We were raised by single mothers who were working, or dual income families. Both parents were working. However it panned out, no one was there at home when we got home. So at a very young age, a lot of times we'd have to fend for ourselves. We'd get home in a totally empty house, have to fix ourselves something to eat, cook macaroni and cheese, or make a grilled cheese sandwich, whatever, on a stove, and do this stuff at a very young age. And a lot of times we had younger brothers and sisters or older brothers and sisters there at the same time, but the kids were there by themselves. So this independent way of life early in our childhood really gave us a sense of being able to do things by ourselves. When you grow up like that, you realize that assistance is actually a luxury. It's not a necessity. You don't need help. And I personally, I'll talk about a few things in my personal life here, specifically about myself here, and give you examples of why and how this independence has followed me throughout life. I never have lost that feeling of independence, that I can do it by myself. And today, as a handyman, there's all kinds of stuff, because I work by myself, but there are bigger jobs sometimes that I have to get done, and I just have to figure out a way to get it done by myself. A normal 2 or 3 man operation, but I don't have 2 or 3 people to help me. So I have to figure out a way to get it done, So, and I do that all the time. I had to install these really big wrought iron gates. They were like 350 pounds each, and on these motorized, opening and closing pistons. And so that when someone pulled up, these big gates would just open and close when the car pulled up. And these gates came in a box, and they were just thrown down on the ground, and I had to figure out how to install them by myself, and I did. But that's just an example of how a lot of people who aren't Gen Xers would either give up. They would see how huge that task is, installing these gates, and just, there's just no way I can do that by myself. So I'm either going to have to go find someone to assist me, or just give up on the job. Now, that's not the Gen X mentality. That's not the independent, the get it done mentality. There's a way. You can do it. You can do it yourself. And that's just one example. I've got many examples from my life, from my working experience, and my personal life too. In my personal life at home, where I'll just have to get it done because I don't want or need assistance. I'm just happier doing it by myself. I don't know if all Gen X or even most Gen Xers are quite as independent as I am, because I'm kind of on the far end of that spectrum, And I'd like to hear from you, and put it down in the comments, please. Let me know, how independent are you? Are you, on the pendulum? Where do you swing? Are you not independent at all? Are you in the middle somewhere, or are you on the far side like me and just do every damn thing yourself? You don't need anyone. But I'd like to hear from you and find out where Generation X, or even better, other generations sit on that pendulum swing, That's pretty cool. I like hearing from y'all. But growing up like that in a latchkey generation, and it was really different, and it hasn't been replicated. After us, people didn't grow up like that, and before us, people didn't grow up like that. Before us, the boomers grew up in a steady household. Mom was at home cooking dinner. You got home, you did your homework while mom was cooking dinner, and by the time you got done with your homework, dad was home from work and dinner was ready, and you ate your dinner, and as a family at the table. That's how they lived before that. Now, by the time Generation X got here, the boomers were doing the whole feminism, maybe not feminism at that time, women's liberation thing, and they were entering the workforce. Women were leaving the household and entering the workforce. Divorce was becoming a lot more common, so there were a lot more single mothers and single parents, and who had to work and weren't home. So we had to, spend a lot of time by ourselves. And to us, that was normal. Just being in a big empty house, or a small empty house, or an empty apartment, whatever it was, an empty trailer, at the age of 8, 9 years old, cooking a grilled cheese sandwich and watching Gilligan's Island reruns or whatever it was. That was normal. All right, we didn't need anyone. We didn't, call grandma and ask how to cook a grilled cheese sandwich, and we didn't need a babysitter. We could get it done. Whatever it was we wanted to do, go out and play without any adult supervision, build a fort without any adult assistance. Just make our own toys, bow and arrow, slingshots, rubber band guns, whatever, without any adult assistance or supervision. And growing up like that and learning at that young age that you could do it yourself and you did not need anyone, that kind of experience sticks with you, right? Yeah, you don't just shed that at some point during your life and say, oh, all of a sudden I need all this assistance, I need all this help, I can't do it. No, we know we can do it. And maybe that would be even a better kind of tagline for Generation X, is the we can do it generation. Because we get it done. And this independent streak has followed us through life, throughout our entire lives. We can learn something new. We can learn a new trade, learn a new programming language, learn a new skill, and do it on our own, and stay flexible inside of a career. You know what I mean? Or even outside of careers and outside of trades and outside of, just completely change back and forth between from coding or banking or something like that over to become an auto mechanic or a jockey. I wouldn't put it past Gen Xers to do damn near anything. So remaining independent and flexible and resilient like that has carried us through life. And now in this era of middle to late middle age, where we've got parents and children depending on us for financial stability, we have to do it. We have to do it ourselves. We have to take care of everyone without any help, because they're not helping. No one else wants to help. And that is something that Gen X has figured out early in life, right? No one gives a shit about how you feel. No one gives a shit about your struggles. They pretend to, they'll pretend to give a shit about your struggles. They care, but at the end of the day, their caring was very fleeting. Their caring was, while you were there and they had to listen to your bullshit. Yeah, they cared for a few minutes, but when they leave and go on about their business, that shit's going to leave their mind, and they're going to devote absolutely zero time and energy into your struggles, because they're trying to trying to focus on their own struggles, right? So Gen X learned this early, and I actually think that it has helped us through life. I think it's provided a certain element of happiness to us, at least contentment, right? At least we're content, if not happy. We're not freaking miserable because we don't expect anyone to help us. When you expect all this help and assistance through life and then it doesn't show up, okay, now you're disappointed. You're miserable because all these people didn't show up for you. They're not actually concerned for you. They're not interested in your struggles. Now, when you don't give a shit, right, and whether anybody's going to help you or not, you don't expect it, you don't need it, don't particularly want it. When someone does show up for you and offer you a helping hand, now it's a pleasant surprise, okay, and it actually brings you a little bit of happiness. And that's the Gen X way. You know, we don't expect shit from anybody. We don't particularly want shit from anybody, and we sure as hell aren't going to ask for assistance from anybody. So when somebody just comes up and offers it, it's a pleasant surprise. It's nice. It's a good feeling. Whether you will accept that aid or not, it's still cool to get it offered, right? Now, I don't know how many of you are like me, but me in a working environment, say, I will rather, just have someone come up. Let's say I'm working on something and someone comes up and they want to help me. I would rather just have them watch me for a few minutes in silence and then just jump in and start helping, right? Rather than stop me from working and ask me to explain to them, and get them on board and, and all this shit. I don't want to stop what I'm doing to explain everything to you, and now, I'm losing traction, I'm losing time on the project. I don't want to have to explain a bunch of shit to somebody and all this, and waste my time and halt the project. And another thing is that a lot of times on a project, at the beginning of a project, people will want to discuss and talk about whatever the thing is and try to figure out the best way to do it, the easiest way to do it, right? They don't want to spend they want to spend as little energy as possible completing the task. So they'll sit there and bullshit and discuss and argue about how to do the project for 30 minutes when, you could have got it done in 15 by just burning 500 calories by moving the damn thing and setting it down or whatever it is, a simple project like that. I've run into that many times in my life where people want to complicate shit when I could have done it by myself and just done the thing myself in half the time it takes them to figure out how the easiest way and simplest way to do it. So sometimes assistance can just complicate shit and make it actually more difficult than it needs to be, because now you've got not physical bodies, but three different mentalities and three different ways of doing things, and now you get into arguments and discussions and all this shit when it's just a lot simpler just to get into it and do the shit, right? So that's another thing I think that I just being Gen X, I think that's where I get that from, just growing up the way we grew up. So I honestly believe that our independent streak has served us well. And not only has it served us well, just getting through life, but it makes us happier. It makes us happier people. Happier, on the scale. Let's say, but less miserable. I'm not going to sit here and say we're all happy, we're all flower children and shit and rainbows flying out our asses and shit. But we're not as miserable as a lot of these other people are that I see. even boomers. You know what I mean? Yeah, they've got money, but a lot of them are damn miserable. They're just miserable. For whatever reason, they think the world is crumbling. They think that they've got the wrong idea about who's doing what, because they're listening to this legacy media, and they're miserable because they think someone's trying to be the king, or the climate is going to kill everybody. So that shit makes them miserable. And then you have your younger generations who are miserable because nobody gives a shit. And they desperately want everyone to care about them and everything they care about, but the reality is nobody gives a shit, right? And that makes them miserable. So in a lot of ways, I think Gen X is, if not the happiest, the least miserable of the generations, the age groups. And let me know what you think about that. Please put that down in the comments. Do you agree with me? Are we the least miserable of the generations? Because we see the world for what it is, and we see people for who they are. At least, maybe not each individual, but society at large for what it is. You know what I mean? For who they are. That's kind of the feeling I get when I look out and look at the other age groups and look at Gen X, and we've just got, we can laugh at just about anything. We do laugh at just about anything. You know what I mean? We don't get offended. We don't get our feathers ruffled by stupid insults or stupid ideas. We have fun, and we don't worry about shit, and we get shit done, and we don't expect help, we don't expect assistance, but when it does come, it comes. Great, awesome. Just don't make the job harder than it would be without it. Some assistance is unwanted and unneeded. But yeah, just let me know what you think, and I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll leave that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I appreciate those of you who do that, and I'll leave that link down in the description. Thank you very much. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. But I'll leave that link down in the description too for any of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out one hell of a lot, so thank you very much to those of you who do that. I really do appreciate it. And if you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.